So Send Help is the latest horror film from Sam Raimi, and it's essentially an island survival adventure, but told with Sam Raimi's penchant for gruesome and vulgar horror. Just all the fun hallmarks that you usually expect with his films, with lots of blood, lots of gore, and lots of puke just served up, in the gallons and made extra slimy and gross. And I wouldn't have it any other way. That's the type of horror that I like to see from Sam Raimi. And this type of film, and I mean this as kind of like as a pro and a little bit of a con, is that this story feels like it could be an EC comic tale. Like it feels like it could be like a segment of Tales from the Crypt, or snuggled in with like Creepshow, as just like as a short film. And I think that was probably my biggest concern coming into this, because like I like the premise and the idea, but I wondered, how can this work for a feature-length film? It's got to have a little bit more, because like the idea is great. The idea is that you have Rachel McAdams playing this office worker. She works in the planning and strategy department of this big company. She has a fun name too. Her name is Linda Little, and she's been working hard, but she's socially awkward, and she doesn't really. She tries to connect with other people, but she struggles. She's a very awkward person, but she feels like, for all her hard work, she is going to get a promotion. But that promotion is denied by her new CEO, Bradley Preston, played by Dylan O'Brien, who is just one of the most obnoxious, like, rich a-holes that you absolutely despise. He's sexist. He looks down on Linda. He mocks her. He's just a very disgusting and gross guy that is not going to give this woman even a raise, or let alone a promotion. And then, while they're on a flight together, the flight crashes on an island, and as it turns out, because Linda is a big watcher of Survivor, she knows how to survive on an island, use all the resources around her, and not die, while Bradley does not. So the tables kind of turn, and Linda kind of tries to find a way to kind of like adjust to Bradley and try to like outsmart him a bit, because Bradley really doesn't like being the lesser rung here. He doesn't like to have to rely on Linda. He wants to just be like the sexist pig in charge, who has everybody else do everything for him, and it's just, he's so, you want Linda to have that revenge. You want her to go harder on this guy. So that's a fun scenario. I like the idea, and I think it's great how Rachel McAdams plays this up. She's a lot of fun. I love how she kind of like gets very giddy about being in this scenario where it's like yes, like all my skills are gonna come in handy, and I'm gonna be the top dog. And then watching Dylan O'Brien basically destruct in this environment. Now that's a good idea for a short horror story. And I think Raimi, explores enough fun stuff to do with this idea by leaning more towards the madness and the grotesque and the wild twists that can be had with this film. Because, I mean, this is the type of Sam Raimi horror that I think can work if it just keeps finding new inventive stuff to do. Like at one point, Linda goes hunting for a boar so that she can kill it for some meat, and the hunt is just very bloody. It's very gross and violent, and it's just I love how a lot of these scenes are just like they feel like they're elongating for the sake of just more violence and brutality. And and I think that also helps for the runtime as well. I think it keeps the story more interesting and more engaging. It feels like it's kind of like padding out the runtime with a lot of like vomit and blood and guts. but I think it works because it does, it's not like wall to wall grotesquerie here. It's doled out in just the right amounts here, which is just like, a gallon here, a gallon there, and just and play it up that you never get you never get sick of it. You never get like, oh, okay, this is gonna happen again. No, it's all delivered in just the right amount. Like at one point, Linda is trying to save Bradley with CPR, but because she's been poisoned, she is vomiting. So she ends up vomiting on Bradley. a lot, like multiple times while she's trying to save his life. She's just vomiting in his face. And just the dedication to the repetition, I think, is just so great. And like I mentioned with the killing of the board, there's a lot of like screaming and roaring and vomiting of blood, and it just keeps going and going and going. Just to the right amount, like, the like the rule of thirds, or in this case, I guess it's kind of like fourths for how much vomit gets spewed in this film. But the twists here that they bring about, that they're not all that unexpected. They're a little bit telegraphed here and there, like if you're familiar with these types of stories. But I think it works well because of the performances of Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. I think they really work in this film, and it's fun to just watch them, try to like engage each other in these games of like skill and trying to outwit each other, trying to assault each other, and just losing themselves in this environment, and how they let their guard down and maybe reveal a little bit too much about them. In particular, I thought I would grow tired of Linda. I felt like the film might go a little too easy on Linda because, she's very likable in the beginning. Like, there's never a moment where you feel that she has to kind of like prove herself. Like, you want her to succeed. You want to see her, topple Bradley. And she does it pretty early when they get to the island. Like, within like a day or two, she's already like made her own little shelter. She's already perfecting tools. She's hunting. She's making food. She has basically gone full Swiss Family Robinson on this place. And and I like that, but I'm like, okay, is there anything more to her? And thankfully there is, because the more that Linda likes this environment, the more that she wants to maintain it, the more that she doesn't want to go back to that world where she was looked down, by people like Bradley. She doesn't want that to happen again, so she wants to kind of like preserve this island environment where she can lord over this CEO that used to just look down and spit on her. And once that happens, you start seeing like this madness unfold where she's trying to, keep Bradley in line, try to hide herself from being rescued, try to, find little areas on the island that she can use for herself, to maintain the lifestyle that she wants. And it's wonderful because, like, for one, you start to like, not like Linda as much, but you do understand her madness. But at the same time, you're also, you also want to root for her to just explode on the CEO, like where you don't even care if she's gone like mad and becoming murderous. Like, you're almost kind of like encouraging that, because I mean, you look at what has happened to this woman, and it's just like you feel for her, and you want her to get her revenge. And I think it's this very like refreshing catharsis within this type of film that I think it works. That even by the time it gets to the end, which just kind of feels like a very abrupt and absurd twist that ends the picture on like this on this darkly comedic yet somewhat happy note, it does feel a bit earned with everything that precedes here. And I think just Raimi's ability to kind of like read the room on class divide and the obnoxious tech CEO who's just like such a sexist jerk, and that desire for revenge, and that that sensation that you are not enough and that you want to just like strike back. And on that level, I think it works well enough where it can keep this idea going. And it's very much like Linda's worried that she's not going to be able to have more time on this island. And I was kind of worried too. I was like, how much mileage can you get out of this story? And it turns out Raimi can do quite a bit. But like I said, the blood and the puke, that adds a lot to it. That helps. That is, and I'm sure that's what a lot of people are going to be expecting out of a Sam Raimi film. And it's fun. Some of the fight scenes get pretty vicious. Like, there's some showdowns between Linda and Bradley where it gets pretty foul. I'll just say this. There's one scene involving fingers and eyeballs. And that's all I'll say. I dare not spoil it because that is such like a wonderful and gross moment that that I honestly didn't expect at that point in the film. But it's refreshing to have that kind of like giddy violence that Sam Raimi is known for, and to see it back again on the big screen. So yeah, Send Help. I think it kind of exhausts a little bit of its material towards the end. I feel like it's getting close to getting out of gas as it nears towards its big finale here, where it has the showdown between Linda and Bradley. But for the most part, for the majority of the film, I feel like it has a good pacing. I feel like it tries out enough weird and scary and just vulgar elements that I think work really well to keep it going. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm kind of getting used to the groove here. I think this is kind of working. It's like I wanted to, see a little bit more of how much further Linda could go with her manipulation of Bradley, or how much deception there was left in Bradley for trying to get away from Linda and assert his dominance and become as violent as she was. The camera work feels a little bit restrained compared to other Sam Raimi films, but it does have a few of those expected shots. Like when you see there are his, extreme close-ups that he has. Like at one point, Linda has like tuna fish on her mouth that Bradley can't help but notice, and the camera zooms so close into her that if you look at this in like 4K, you could probably make out the type of tuna that she's got on her lips. And there are other scenes like where they focus on like their hands and their eyeballs, where it's like they get so close with the camera here that Raimi might as well just, you can pretty much see like their pores and the molecules on like their hands and their faces. And it works because it gets you like very uncomfortably close and disgusted with this scenario, so that you're not too used to the absurdities of like how there's like the plane crash where people get sucked out of the plane and like their bodies like snap apart, or how people get stabbed, or how there's like shocking deaths of like people falling off cliffs or getting sliced, or even just having like weird nightmares and stuff like that. All this fun stuff that Sam Raimi injects into this film, and I was surprised by how well it worked for this running time. I think Sam Raimi did a really good job at making what could just be a short EC Comics horror story into a feature film that is a lot of fun. Send Help is it's another fun Sam Raimi film with extra blood and puke, if that's what you enjoy in your horror films, which I do.